This is Justin from Breakout Capital Ventures. It is Saturday, the 27th of June, 2026. I'm going to start with ALRT, Defence Holdings Limited. And this is one that I covered off recently over on another podcast series, which I'll probably put the link up there, actually, see where that comes up. But this one, it's really disappointing, isn't it? That, I thought that we might see a bounce off this top of this blue box here at 1.2, but unfortunately, it did a placing. And so that's sort of changed things a little bit. It's back into the blue box. The blue box is kind of working because, they've raised capital at that level. But unfortunately, obviously from an investor's point of view, it sort of got running and then sort of failed. But fingers crossed, once you clear that placing, which is, I think, £4 million at 1p, once you flush that through, I think, it should still have this red box zone target here at 2.155 up to 2.495 and 2.95 is where I think it's going to be heading once that placing is cleared, and as long as obviously the company fundamentals stay the same. So there is then obviously the longer term target, which is still intact, at 5.66 up to 6.95, once it's broken hold above sort of 4.25 pence. So ALRT, worth popping on your watch list and do some research on that one. But just another placing that sort of caught out this week, hasn't it? But there we go. The next one we're going to do is SML, and not one that I've covered for a little while. Strategic Minerals. And I didn't cover it because I was kind of waiting for a bit more trading data on that. And, I got this blue box down here, but I wasn't sure. But I'm kind of thinking that is actually right. And, it's going to go to there. It's sort of got a stronger support at 3.8, but it's a possibility. It's not guaranteed, of course, that what I would like to see here is just a little bit more of a push down top of that box, 3.65, and then I think we're a game on for another push higher from here. And and if we can go on and break this sort of 7p high, break and hold above that, that's going to bring us into this red box zone here at 8.16 up to 9.56. So really, I think what you're going to see there is probably an attack on 10p. So that's 1.5 bags in SML at some stage in the near future is where I see that one headed. So anything towards that around 3.8p, I think it should be good value. But if you can get a buy within that blue box zone there, 3.65 down to 3.15, even better. But I don't think it's probably going to get there. Who knows? But anywhere around that, I think is value for money if you sit and hold on that one. But again, do your own research and see what that's all about. The next one I'm going to do is TUN and Tungsten West, and this one here, I've got a red box here. So basically, if we break below 31.6, I think that we're going to see trading down to 28.8, down to 25.1 for a reversal play. But it might not break that low there. We could see a push higher. And where do I think that's going to head? I think if we can hold there, or if we can hold above this sort of 25.5, then I think we could see a push up to on the next leg once we've broken 45p, say. I think that you're going to activate that red box there at 72 pence, possibly 83.8 and possibly 98.8 pence. So worth popping on your watch list and finding out what's going on with that one, because that's potentially 2 bags, isn't it? So worth doing some research on that one. TRP is the next one, and Tower Resources, haven't covered this one off for a little while, but I got a blue box reversal down there and it's fallen outside. So the bottom of that box is 0.0212. It's fallen outside that. It's struggling to get back in, but if you can get back into that blue box, that would be great. First point of call is obviously the top of the blue box, 0.0292, and once we've broken hold above that, then it needs to then go and attack this prior high. So break and hold above sort of 0.05 pence. That should bring us up to 0.0652 and possibly 0.0784, which is quite a lot of bags from where it is at the moment. But the company needs to produce whatever news it is that it needs to produce in order to get the balls back on side. So one's worth doing your research on. Next one I'm going to do is UPL and Upland Resources. This one here, I've got that blue box reversal zone, which I've think that, that's kind of been sort of done and dusted with that spike down to 2.06. But, what it needs to do now is break and hold above sort of 4p. A close above 4p is going to activate this red box here, 5.52, possibly 6.82, and then the next stop would be 8.44 pence. So potentially quite a lot of bags in UPL as well, and it's in a news-rich period. So worth doing your research on that one and find out what's going on. Fingers crossed that one has a really good run over the summer. EOG is my next one, and Europa Oil and Gas. And this one here, well, I want to see here. I want to stay above 1.2. If you could stay and hold above 1.2, go ahead and break 2.3, break and close above that, and I should activate this red box here at 3.15, possibly 3.68, and possibly 4.35 would be my next point of call on EOG. So that's Europa Oil and Gas. Next one I'm going to do is MedPal AI PLC. One that I've been quite bullish on. Was since 2.5p. Now currently at 4.6. Obviously, it's kind of just consolidating, in my opinion, at this level. I think over the next sort of few sessions, and hopefully probably July, I think we're going to see a push up. And my first point of call is going to be 8.64, then 10.44, and then 12.74, which would be then an all-time high. And then see how things go from there. But I think that that's going to be a really good one for the run to the end of year. So worth doing some research on that one, finding out what's going on. RKH is my next one, Rockhopper Exploration, and so where do I think that's headed? Well, if we get a break below 65.4, then this red box is going to come into play. That'd be 63.9 down to 56.5 for a reversal play. However, it doesn't have to break that low. We could indeed make a reversal from where we are at the moment. And where would I think it's headed? Needs to break and hold above sort of 90p, break and close above that. That's going to bring us up to attacking £1. So that would be 99.7 up to 110.8. I think that's where the next point of call on Rockhopper is. And I mean, it's done absolutely amazing, hasn't it? Sort of back in November 24, that was it, 11, 12p. Now it's trading at 70 pence, so it's done astonishingly well. And I think that that's going to be attacking £1 in the relatively short term. So worth popping in, watch this and see what's going on there. KIST is my next one, Kistos Holdings. Where would I think that's heading? Well, yeah, I got that blue box there, which, it's had an absolute stellar run as well. This one, that was only at 92.4. It's going all the way to dizzy heights of 334. And, this is kind of what I'm expecting to happen. I think, we're going to see another push to the upside, probably attacking 300 pence again, and then probably another push down. And then I think we're going to see an attack on, breaking a hold above this 321. And then you're going to see attack on this 361 pence up to 405 pence. So I think there's another push to the upside, and there's quite a lot of return, isn't it, on that one? So it's quite a big market cap as well. So we're doing research on that one. First Class Metals is my last one for this Saturday, and I've come to this one off before just recently, and this is another one that's consolidating, and I think we've got another push to the upside in the near term. And where do I think it's heading? Well, I think we need to break and hold above sort of 4.35, which we've done that. I think we're going to be seeing an attack on 5p plus on that one. So it could be the start of a much bigger wave that could be higher than that. But, what I would see is just see what happens as we get into that red box zone. But, certainly the market's saying to us that there is more upside in first class metals in the near term. So we're doing research on that one. There you go. That's me forward to this weekend. I shall be back again soon. Thank you.